G'day guys, how's it going? My name is AussieTash. I've really enjoying watching the Made in Canada series and learning about all the cool things that Canada has contributed to the world. This is the final video in the Made in Canada series, so let's just roll.
Made in Canada. Creative, innovative, and sometimes mind-boggling contributions Canadians have made to the world. Imagine building an enormous sailing ship for no other reason than to rip it apart. In the early 1800s, colonists in Canada were earning big bucks exporting timber to Britain. Then, the British government put a super high timber tax on oak and pine. This meant less money for the colonists. But a few sneaky thinkers came up with a way to avoid paying the tax: disposable ships. These ships would be built with squared timbers, sailed across the ocean, and then quietly taken apart in Britain. Presto! Timber delivered with no tax to pay.
Oh, that's very clever.
In 1825, a huge disposable ship named the Baron of Renfrew made the voyage to Britain and was broken up for timber there. The operation was a success.
Absolutely. The disposable ship. How cool was that idea? Oh my gosh. To avoid paying the taxes, they just used the wood to make it into a ship, sailed it all the way to England, took it apart, and there was the wood. Avoided paying the taxes. Very sneaky. Very cool. Absolutely loved it.
Made in Canada. Creative, innovative, and sometimes mind-boggling contributions Canadians have made to the world. Think you could maneuver a tiny boat through a sea with brutal, shifting pack ice?
Wow.
It would be an extremely tough challenge, not to mention dangerous. But in the 1800s, it was pretty much the only way to ferry goods and people between PEI and mainland Canada in winter.
Would have been too.
To make the trip a little easier, ice boats were used. An ice boat was a lot like a regular rowboat, but with some special additions. Each boat was outfitted with runners on its hull and leather harnesses attached to the bow and stern. Whenever the boat met thick ice, crew and passengers alike got out, strapped on the harnesses, and dragged the boat over the ice and slush. If people fell into the frigid water as they pulled, the harnesses also helped save them from drowning.
Oh, that's really clever. The horse ferry. Okay. Very excited to hear about this.
Made in Canada. Creative, innovative, and sometimes mind-boggling contributions Canadians have made to the world. Have you ever heard of the horse ferry? Nope, it was not a ferry boat just for horses. It was a ferry boat powered by horses.
Oh,
In the early and mid-1800s, horse ferries were used in parts of Canada to carry people and supplies across various lakes. Each ferry was equipped with 2 to 5 horses that walked on treadmills located right on the boat deck. The treadmills were attached to the side paddle wheels, which were set in motion when the horses moved. As the wheels turned, the boat was propelled forward. Canada's horse ferries didn't move very fast and could only be used for short trips, but they got the job done. Until much speedier steam-powered ferries took over.
The horse ferry. That is really cool. Like he said, it didn't go fast, but some things you might not need to get there straight away. So the horse ferry, put it on there, the horses would do their thing on their little treadmill and they get it to you. Absolutely, what a cool idea. The ice boat. Yeah, I didn't even think about way back in the day how people would get from Prince Edward Island to mainland Canada with all that ice. The way they designed that boat, the ice boat, very cool. The Caribou Camel. Okay? Very
Made
interesting.
in Canada. Creative, innovative, and sometimes mind-boggling contributions Canadians have made to the world. What has 2 humps, a major appetite, and smells really bad? A caribou camel. Back in 1862, a herd of camels was brought to British Columbia to haul freight during the Caribou Gold Rush. Some BC businessmen believed these camels would be able to carry heavier loads and travel longer distances than the mules and horses already on the job. Turns out the camels weren't such a good idea. They kicked and bit at anything that moved. They ate everything in sight, including pants and bars of soap. And their terrible smell caused other pack animals on the trail to panic and stampede. About 4 months after the camels arrived in BC, they were banned from the Caribou trails for good.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused with that episode. So they didn't make the Caribou Camel, and the purpose that they wanted them for, they didn't use them for. They were just really, really stinky and would eat everything. So not really sure about that episode, but yeah, it was still really cool to learn about. Did you know that camels come from Canada? It was an episode that I did in Canada. Have a look at it, watch it. It's really, really cool. But yeah, there were camels way back in the day in Canada.
Made in Canada. Creative, innovative, and sometimes mind-boggling contributions Canadians have made to the world. During the Second World War, a scientist in Britain had the idea of building huge ships out of ice and sawdust. He figured such ships would be indestructible. If they were bombed by enemy submarines, they could be repaired simply by freezing more water in place.
Maybe?
The scientist shared his theory with the British government. Soon, a plan was hatched to try making one of these ice ships in Canada. In 1943, deep in the mountains of Alberta, a group of men began building a prototype on the shores of Patricia Lake. The ship, named the Habakkuk, was eventually considered seaworthy. But by then, officials had figured out that ice ships were simply too expensive to build, and they gave up on the whole idea. The Habakkuk soon melted away, and its wooden forms sank to the bottom of the lake.
I love the idea of the Habakkuk. That would be really, really cool. I can see why it would be very, very expensive, and it would be very, very time consuming, having to freeze up the ice. So yeah, very cool idea, but yes, not very practical. All right, that's it. That was the last episode of Made in Canada. Guys, I absolutely loved this series. I learned so much about the really cool things that Canada have created and contributed to the world. If you guys enjoyed this episode and want to watch more, jump onto my Made in Canada playlist and check out the other videos. That was the video for today. If you enjoyed it, please jump on, smash the like button, leave a comment, and of course, remember to subscribe. That really helps me out. Cheers from down under. Take care. Bye.